morning. I'm Chris Hoffman, Executive Director of the Beaches Museum, and I'm so excited to welcome you here today for this presentation and the opening of the Whales of Amelia Island exhibit here in our lobby. And I want to thank you for spending your Saturday morning with us, because I know today you could spend your morning swimming 2 miles in the St. John's River, riding 116 miles through Nocatee, and then running a marathon. Does that sound fun to anybody? There's 2,000 people that not only signed up to do that, but paid a lot of money and traveled here to do that. So very exciting for Jacksonville, not exciting for anybody who's trying to get from point A to point B. But so you're safe here. There will be no bike rider. Well, I can't say that. Bill Longenecker may come through here on this bike. But anyway, so we are excited to have you here today to kick off this exhibit. A few housekeeping notes. Is it anyone's first time in the museum? Okay, awesome. So you guys all know where the bathrooms are. Just all the way down at the other end. And then I want to recognize any museum members here today. Wonderful. And then we have several board members. We have Vic, Margie, Ed. Vic, Ed, Margie, and Margie. That's what I got tripped up on, the 2 Margies. Thank you guys. The Margies are outnumbering us, guys. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your leadership. A few unrelated to right whales notes. You are sitting right now in the 100 Years of Atlantic Beach exhibit, so if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that one, it's going to be up through August, so take a look. We've got some other programming. We've got a talk by Wayne Wood about the architecture of Atlantic Beach, and then we're going to have a talk by Johnny Woodhouse, and he's talking about the names of the parks and things in Atlantic Beach that you know. News flash, Jack Russell Park is not named after a breed of dog. So you can find the answer here if you want to, or you can come to Johnny Woodhouse's talk. We've got the postcards right on the table right out here. Take that, suitable for hanging on your refrigerator, remind you about those great events coming up. Then we have a concert on Tuesday down at the chapel. Jim, somebody help me. Jim Bickerstaff and the White Knuckle Flyers. Oh, I got it. I haven't even had a cup of coffee yet today. So that's a really going to be a really great concert, our last one of the spring season. And then really, really big news is that next weekend is going to be your last chance to see our permanent exhibit. So if you've been following along, we are in a fundraising campaign right now and a full redesign of the permanent exhibit. So we're going to celebrate the end of that 20-year-old exhibit next weekend, and then we're going to close it down and we're going to start renovations and open the new exhibit later this summer. So it's a really exciting time, but go through there, bid your farewells, and we're going to be closing those doors for a few months starting next Monday. So the good news is that we are continuing to offer exhibits out here in the Dickinson Gallery as well as in the lobby space. So when the Amelia Island Right Whale ambassadors approached us about hosting this this traveling exhibit, we were thrilled with the opportunity, because it's giving us an opportunity to share something a little different, but also something that is traveling and is going to be part of just such a bigger conversation about the right whale, North Atlantic right whales. So let's see, I cannot read my handwriting. A couple other things that we're going to have. This is the opening today, but then we're going to have a closing event on August 25th. So we're going to have the reception here in the museum, and then we're going to go down to the chapel to watch a movie about right whales. And this, you're going to hear more about it, but it's really going on a tour through Florida. We're really excited that we're going to be one of the opportunities to see that. It is a charge of $15. We do have some expenses related to the movie, but for members, it's free. So if you haven't renewed your membership in a while, or you need to become a member, this is a great time to do that. So keep an eye out for that information. You should already have it in an email if you get our emails. But we'd love to see you at that. The movie, the trailer of it, it looks stunning, and I think it's going to be really impactful, and I'm really glad that we're getting to show it right here in Jacksonville Beach. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the mic over to Catherine Saylor, who's with Defenders of Wildlife. And as a lot of you are really involved in the museum, you know how important it is to have leaders and funders to help make these types of exhibits happen. So you're going to get to hear from 2 of those today, but I'm going to turn it over to Catherine to get us started. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Good morning.
Washington, D.C., but I live right here in Florida. Have the honor and privilege of working with the Amelia Island whale ambassadors and folks right in the community. Many things that we do is looking at legislation, looking at laws, regulations, taking folks to court when they violate the laws that undermine the Endangered Species Act and put endangered species like the North Atlantic right whale, less than 400 left, even closer to the brink of extinction. We know the Endangered Species Act, something that we work on a lot, is a really critical bedrock conservation law. Over 80% of Americans really support it, both sides of the aisle. It's been around since the Nixon administration, and it's really, really beloved. It works well. It works well for Florida species like the American alligator, bald eagle. There used to be about 1,000 manatees in Florida. Do you know approximately how many are found in the state today? Between 8,500 and 10,000. And a lot of that is due to the Endangered Species Act. And it's due to things like what's happening right here, right now, when folks from the community come together and say, hey, there's whales off of our coast? That's so interesting. What can I do to be involved? Or what can I do to learn more about whales? So it takes multiple layers, from the top line bedrock conservation laws to defending actions in court to being here and being interested in these whales. And what they really mean for all of us. They're not just, this really cool, majestic creature off of the coast. They offer, it's okay if it goes off. I'm the show now.
It's okay that it's trying to get it back one for you.
Thanks, Krissi, really appreciate it.
I might need you to do it.
All good. Really, even though there's only 400 and extinction is human-driven, the solutions are also human-driven. And luckily, it's not that hard. If we slow down boats, if we remove ropes from the water, if we come together to keep bedrock conservation laws like the Endangered Species Act in place, we can be successful. So on behalf of Defenders of Wildlife, a national nonprofit that works to protect both threatened and endangered species, critically endangered, like on the brink of extinction, like the North Atlantic right whale, I'd like to thank the museum for having us. It's such an honor to be here. Genuinely appreciate to be here in the calving grounds, a place that is so unique, where these whales come to give birth to their young, to nurse, because the waters here are warm, relatively calm, relatively shallow, less boat traffic than some other parts of the continental United States. So I'd like to thank the other sponsors, the Amelia Island Whale Ambassadors, for their dedication to the wildlife and this place that makes it so unique. From sea turtles to giant manta rays to North Atlantic right whales, even to sharks. This is an incredibly rare, important, special place. You can go ahead and switch over to your.
I did, but it's
okay.
not
Yeah.
now.
Okay. We might have to give a little click. Would technology ever work the first time?
Yeah. We may need John's help. We were up a minute ago. We all saw it. We saw that it was up.
It worked. It worked.
John's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, he knows
We
already.
switched to it.
Thanks, John.
Let's do some jiggling first. If that does anything.
That's technical, jiggle.
Well, that, we're not doing with that.
Oh, we're not doing that?
We're done with that laptop.
Ah,
So we
gotcha.
switched over that, yeah.
Maybe?
Ta-da.
It's thinking?
Wow.
Ah.
I know.
There's not a blackboard.
We did come at 10 this morning to set
And it was working, it worked so quickly too.
Yeah, we're right away, like, yeah. I'm just gonna stand here like I might be helpful, but I'm just.
Kind of like the IT guy shows up in
Yeah.
his trouble and everything.
The moral support. Unplug it and plug it back in.
Should we try the computer?
I'm gonna do a different cord.
Yeah, it's the HDMI is the one we're using ours.
I have another HDMI port.
the toys.
Yeah.
All
I
the
used to
boards,
do a
all
lot
the
of
bells.
presentations, so, yeah. So, we'll try. And we got that one.
While we're transferring tech, does anybody have any questions about North Atlantic right whales? Not that I'm, yeah,
When's their calving season, isn't it around now?
yeah, so it just ended, the seasonal management,
Okay.
it starts in November 15th through April 15th. So
Okay.
through the winter into spring, just ended technically yesterday.
Okay. So I have seen them from like, Casa Marina and then.
Oh, you have
rooftop.
seen them?
Yeah,
That's so cool.
several times, it's really cool.
Yeah, that's
You didn't bring
fantastic.
it on a thumb drive. Oh. Cause yeah, if it's on a thumb drive, we can use one of our computers.
So the
Howard?
Aaron,
There was 23 calves this year. A number we haven't seen in,
I switched to
Decades.
this thing.
Yeah.
to what do you attribute that increase in the numbers? And I know it can be many, different factors, but and do you think we'll see that kind of success going forward?
yeah, that's a
I
great
think maybe
question.
it's on like 2 display modes.
I don't know if it's about copiapod abundance. I mean, the stressors are still out there. You know, the vessel traffic hasn't slowed down. There's still plenty of ropes in the water. There's still a lot of really small females, but it may be seasonal food abundance. You know, environmental factors that allow for cooler waters seasonally, more copepods, more food, moms putting on more fat, more weight, and then, being able to become pregnant. But certainly the stressors are still there, but we're absolutely hopeful with solutions that we'll see another calving center like that. That's a great question.
And then, yeah, laptop too.
Yeah. I apologize, we did have it all up for me.
Krissi, would it be helpful to use my laptop? Since it connects, and just pop the USB drive in there?
And keep changes. Oh, we did it.
Yeah,
We got it. All right.
The last thing we tried.
So,
Yeah, and with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Krissi Barr, the other platinum sponsor. Krissi's the other platinum sponsor of the exhibit that you saw out there today. She serves on the board of the Amelia Island Whale Ambassadors, and she is broadly a nature lover of all things nature, and I pass it over to you.
thank you, thank you. This is not the worst thing that ever happened in a presentation. I've been giving presentations in my business life to as many as several thousand people before, and we had problems there. I remember one time I was doing a presentation in a room with a mirror, and it wasn't coming up on the screen for some reason, but it was showing up in the mirror. I go, if we all turn and face that way, I can watch this. This was not the worst thing. Thank you so much for your patience. So, yes, I am Amelia Island Whale Ambassadors. We're super excited about our whales, and we have one vision. We have a vision to save our right whales before they go extinct. And we really want to do our mission is to protect North Atlantic right whales through education, awareness, and collaboration. So everything we do is about education, awareness, and collaboration. Back in the heyday, there were as many as 15 to 20,000 of these North Atlantic right whales. We have 2% left. Now, where they got decimated from originally was whaling, but now it's all about entanglements and vessel strikes. Amelia Island, just about an hour north, have a special kinship to the North Atlantic right whale. That's because every year, between the middle of November to the middle of April, they come down and they have their calves right off of our island. So not only are they magnificent sea mammals, but they come here and have their calves. Does anybody know how many calves we had this past year? 23, yes, we said 23. Yes, exactly right.
She said.
That is the most we've ever had since 2009. So 15 years, we've gone for a long, long time. So this is exciting. The year before, we had 11, which has kind of been a little more typical at 11 to under 20. But the problem is, we need 50 to turn around the path to extinction. So we're thrilled with 23. We need to double that number. So what brings them here? Well, they come all all the way out from New England and Canada, where they eat, and then they come down here and have their babies, which is super exciting. And you can see the different times of the year. So they're down here in the November through April timeframe. The summer months, they're up north in New England, which is great. Does anybody know how big the North Atlantic right whale is? Not making eye contact, I'm seeing it. All right, do you get on a school bus? Do you go to a school bus every day? No? No? Well, they're bigger than a school bus. Considerably bigger than a school bus, and 140,000 pounds. Wait, for me, I can't lose that last 5, but 140,000 pounds, these things are mammoth. They're the 3rd largest of the whales that are out there. Has anyone been on a humpback whale tour anywhere to go see the humpback? They're bigger than the humpbacks. So, and were they pretty magnificent when you saw them? Like, oh my gosh, look how big they are. They're bigger than the humpbacks. All right, here's a question. Who sees the whale? Where's the whale? Where are you pointing? Right there? There are 3 of them out there. There are 3 of them out there. And that's what makes it so hard. They're hard to see. 1, there's so few. 2, they're not very active. They're not splash around a lot. They kind of rest and nurse and whisper, and on the down here they're not eating a lot. They're mostly black, so with the color of our waters, it's hard to see them. They have short little pectoral fins down here. Unlike the humpback flippers, there's no dorsal fin. So we don't see that's the biggest one. And we don't do chores like we might do in New England or off the coast of Hawaii, because we have to stay 500 yards away from them. So there are no tours, there's no going out in kayaks, no drones, nothing like that. So they're really hard to see. There's somebody out there who I overheard, I wasn't talking to them, who said they lived in a tall building. Does anybody live in a tall building here, like a condo or whatever? If you know anybody, we need their help. I call them high-rise helpers. If you see something that looks like a floating log, and we can see them from the beach, but the people in the high-rises can see them too, call 888-97-WHALE. That's 888-97-WHALE. I have it in my contacts under right whale, but I have now memorized the numbers, sort of like Morgan and Morgan or Farrah and Farrah. That's 888-97-WHALE. All of them, if you see them. There's also an app you can put on your phone. I was talking with you about that. There's an app that you download called Whale Alert, and you can see where they are. So when we were seeing Millipede, when she was up off the coast of Amelia Island a couple of months ago, December actually, there were some people from Jacksonville Beach who said they heard about it from being on our mailing list, but you can see on your Whale Alert app where they're heading. So this is a snapshot from my app on March the 19th, and you can see all the whales that are right here, coming in our area. So that's one way that you can find out where they are. You see a funky looking plane that is kind of going back and forth like this. I liken it to, I have a friend in England who her husband mows their lawn like this because he wants to have those perfectly lined straights in his lawn. That's the plane that's looking for the right whales. So if you see a funky looking plane like that out there, whales are probably nearby. We're going to go back to the high-rise helpers, where we need your help. Under the current administration, with NOAA and the budget cuts and the DOGE cuts, we likely will lose that next year. So we will not be able to see them. Now, how do you know if it's a right whale? First of all, its glow is V-shaped, so that's pretty exciting. We can tell that. They have a unique look about them, these white spots on their head that are called callosities. Did I say it right? I always mess up that word. Callosities, there we go. It's a unique fingerprint for them. So you can see that for the right whale. We also know they got that little paddle-shaped flippers. They're mostly dark. They got some white patches on their belly. And their throat is not pleated like mine. So there's no pleated throat for them. It's also a right whale if it doesn't have that dorsal fin, which is a big thing. And look at this deep notch in the tail. It had a deep notch in its tail as well. As I mentioned, the year before we had 11 calves, and we were excited for every single one of them. But we want more. There's still good news, going back to the good news of that season. 4 were first-time moms, and that's important because we need more moms to have the species survive. We had 2 moms that had babies despite their injuries. Here we can see an injury on one of the right whales, and unfortunately, when they're pregnant, they can be susceptible if they have an injury from a boat strike or whatever. So they had babies and calves despite their injuries. And I'm not gonna ask the ladies in here, how many of you are older than 44 and have had nine children? but actually, the two of them, have you had 9 children and are over 44? Raise your hand. No, but we did have one that year. So the calving season started off pretty exciting. We had Champagne, and that was her name, based on her velocities. And of course, we had to celebrate with Champagne, Amelia Island Whale Ambassadors. We do some serious work, but we like to have serious fun, so that was early in the day, a little day drinking there, we saw Champagne. Then Millipede came, and Millipede was wonderful. December 13th, she was there for several hours, frolicking off the coast with her baby. And you could tell she was just having fun with her baby, like we all do with our babies. Like your mom did with you guys when you were little. Frolic to have fun and they coo and such. She was out there for several hours. Then we saw her weekend, but we had reports of her in February off the coast of Boulder Grand. And I know I was worried, like, oh my gosh, she's in the Gulf. Is she gonna be able to come back around? And she did safely in Cape Cod by March the 11th. So that was Millipede. We had some comeback moms, and I call them comeback moms because all of them lost their calves in 2024 before they got through the nursing season. So these moms were physically ready to get pregnant again. The intervals usually are 7 to 10 years. This year, half of them had their intervals in 5 years. But these ones came back in 2 years. Skittle, Juno, and Bermuda. So comeback moms this year. Highest number of whale calves in 15 years. 23 moms, that's 31% of the population of reproductive females, which is exciting. And the great news, they came back after 5 years, half of them did, versus 7 to 10. However, in a healthy environment, we should see them having 3 to 5 year intervals. So this is getting better, I'll take anything we got there. Our youngest mom was Catalog, 4610, I don't think she has her official name yet. She had her first calf at 10 years, which is terrific because we've seen them having their first calves a little later. And no entanglements, yay. And her oldest one, if you thought 44 was old, Ghost is over 50 and she had her 9th calf. So Ghost is doing it for the species here. Harmonia had a baby, and Harmonia is, yes, endangered as all North Atlantic right whales are, but boy is Harmonia resilient. She has had 10 known entanglements, 10 of them, as she's been tangled up. She's given birth 4 times. The first calf died due to a vessel strike when it was really young at 1. Her second calf hasn't been seen since it was entangled. Her third calf is 6 years old, seen regularly, but it is entangled. And she had the 4th one. And then we had a surprise in the middle of March. Here comes Mirror, March 14th, and her calf. So it's been a great year. And we get close to these whales. We know their names, we know from their velocities who they are. We love these whales. It's personal for us. Will they go extinct in our lifetime or your lifetime? Well, death and injury is a real issue. And again, that's with entanglement and vessel strikes. So I have made a personal choice. I don't eat lobster anymore because lobster fishing is one of the ways that they get in trouble. Crab, snow crab is not good. Stone crab is. So I kind of remember it that way. Snow, not good. I left snow in Ohio, but stone crab is. My undergrad in geology, so okay, stone crab is good. Vessel strikes for both commercial and recreation, take them out. And then there's stress in the ocean. There's noise, there's injury, there's plastics, there's less food. So they have a lot of those stressors. They're critically endangered, around 400. Last year we said 384, we had 23 calves, so around 400 with only 70 females. Like I said, they're breeding for the first time at older ages for the most part, except for Catalog, Game Brown. And we have seen this 5-year shift, so there's some good things happening. And we have some protections. The Marine Mammal Protection Act from 1972, the Endangered Species Act from 1973, the Vessel Speed Rule. All of those are endangered. I'm going to pause on those first 3. All of those are endangered as well. We had a little inhale and exhale, and Catherine, you might be able to talk a little bit more about the Endangered Species Act. That was coming up for a vote, and then it got put off, but it still can come back up for a vote as well.
That's right, yeah, so the Endangered Species Amendment Act of 2025. So I mentioned, this is a really popular act, it's a bedrock conservation law. In general, it's incredibly well supported, been around since the Nixon administration. Originally proposed in 1972, amended in 1973. But last year, a bill was written that basically eviscerated it. Took it bit by bit, brick by brick, essentially was going to destroy it. It was going to a House vote, made it through all House committees in Congress, was going to a House floor vote on Earth Day of all days. And actually got pulled because of the Florida delegation in Congress said, we don't think this is actually going to pass. So Floridians were responsible for this not going to a House vote and potentially passing and eviscerating the Endangered Species Act. However, it could come back.
It could come back.
It could come back. So it's called the Endangered Species Amendments Act of 2025. The bill's number is 1897. But we're hoping, as long as Florida stays strong, that it will not come back and the Endangered Species Act will remain in place.
And as I understand it, one of the reasons the Florida contingent said they didn't want this is because of the sea turtles. So yes, the Endangered Species Act does things like manatees and sea turtles and right whales as well. I was in a really bad funk about 2 weeks ago when this fourth one came up. This proposed bill in the House 8509 that would pause protections until 2035 and is specifically calling out for pausing protections for the North Atlantic right whale. And President Trump has come out publicly in support of this. So we've got some strong evidence here if we're going to protect them, because if we pause the protections that are in place for the North Atlantic right whale until 2035, we might not have them. We really might not. 85% of North Atlantic right whales have been entangled at least once. 85%. And an example is this whale called Ruffian. Ruffian was tangled up. He got out of being tangled with our help off the coast of Cumberland. When they were able to disentangle him, they found 450 feet of rope. Now remember, that's about 3 times as long as the whale is itself. And a 150-pound trap that he was hauling. And that is a trap used in New England. So he brought that all the way 800, 900 miles down. Can you imagine what it's like to pull a 135-pound trap through the friction of water and everything? This is the part that's not so great. Then I'll move on. But entanglement, we can go out there and try to help them, but the conditions have to be ideal. And with a swipe of the tail, the whales can take out the crew that's helping them. So there's some great videos on YouTube about it. You can watch them and see, especially with Ruffian, but it's not easy. And entanglement death is slow, it's painful because they get infected. Okay, you can open your eyes now. It's good. This says no more. What's like it? But we have a solution. Go back to how they're fishing now. Think of a forest. If you're hiking in the forest, all these trees. Well, that's kind of like what the whales swim through. They swim through this maze of nets. And then they get entangled. And what do? Like when you get something on you or something in your eye, you're squatting to try to get out, you turn round and round and round and round, and they get more entangled. And so that's what they're trying to fight off, and it makes it worse. But on the good side, there are 3 viable on-demand buoys that we can use. The pop-up buoy, the inflatable lift bag, and the buoy spool. And you'll see some examples of that in the exhibit. We need to somehow make this appealing to the fishermen to use it, whether it's tax breaks to use this, whatever. I've heard that some fishermen don't want to use them because it's not macho to not pull them up, because they would be using GPS and other methods to pull them up. So we have to make it sexy and financially important to do it this way. But we do have an answer. The thing is, there's an answer here. Vessel strikes, number 2. One of the things we do at Amelia Island Whale Ambassadors, we go out to marinas between November 15th and April 15th, and we give them packets of information, like here's what to look for. And we show the picture, like they're really hard to see, it's that floating log. We educate them. We also educate them on the selfish side. You hit one, probably take it out your boat, in addition to taking out the whale. So, and you can cause injury to the people on the boat. So we try to educate them about those kind of things. there's a seasonal, this is the vessel speed rule, if you take a look at, these are seasonal management areas where you say boats over 65, I'm gonna mess that up, 65 feet have to go less than 10 knots during that time. And you see here's ours, is that November 15th through April 15th. And now it's up here in the summertime, April 1st to July 31st up in New England. It's not all year, and it's not all areas. It's just when the whales are there, slow down when there's whales. It's like a school zone. I mean, you don't want somebody plowing through a school zone, going 50 miles an hour through a school zone. I slow down in the school zone. It's all, just stop at a crosswalk when people cross. It's those kind of things. That's all we're asking. The Garmin Corporation is pretty cool. Anybody have a Garmin watch? I wear one for golf, but does anybody have a Garmin watch? Garmin, but you know the organization. They have put they have a device that's called the automatic identification system. This is on the seaside end of Amelia Island, and when the whales are out there, they send alerts to the boats, because most boats have a Garmin system in them. So they send alerts to the boats to say, there are right whales there, slow down. Slow down is to 10 knots. Do they have to do it? No. Does the system know how fast they're going, and can they force them to do it? They can't force them to do it. We send a couple of alerts out, and make them aware we can't enforce the law. But it makes them aware, and I think some boats do slow down because of it, so that's really cool. They charged us nothing for that, right, Candace? They didn't charge us anything for that? Yeah. So, ways we can make a difference. Change the way we fish. Use the on-demand ways to do it. Pay attention to the vessel speed rules. 65 feet and above, limited to 10 knots. Educate people. And then there's some really cool emerging technology with satellites, acoustic monitoring, and thermal imaging. And this is a thermal imaging, or satellite image rather, of ruffian. So we can see them. There are ways that are coming. We're working hard. Okay, poop matters. You think I was going to talk about poop today, but I am going to talk about poop. When whales poo, they come to the surface because they prefer to poo up on the surface. So they poo, the phytoplankton eat their poo. And it kind of sounds gross, but they do. So the phytoplankton, and then eaten by the zooplankton, by the krill, the whales eat the fish. It's this beautiful circle of life. But look up here. What's going on with those phytoplankton? It looks like they're pulling carbon dioxide in, and they're letting oxygen out. Where do you think we get most of our oxygen from? Plants, trees. So who said the ocean? You're right. Every other breath you take, think of phytoplankton. They're responsible for half of our oxygen. And they're also responsible for taking 1/3 of the carbon dioxide out of the air that humans generate. So I have here, if there weren't children, I would say the word, but we need the whales. It's about poo and we need it. More whales, need more phytoplankton, more clean air. Who knew? So again, if you see a North Atlantic right whale, if you see any whale of any kind, call us. What's that number?
889 whale.
97 whale, that's right. And guess what? A real person named is Julie Albert answers the phone, and she will take down all your information. So I just have it in my contest called Right Whales, and it's 888-97 whale. Thank you. Yes, you want to take a picture of that? 888-97 whale. Should be something cool like Morgan and Morgan and Farrah or something like that. Oh wait, sorry. There we go. She answers. Thank you. You're welcome. So what can you do? First of all, Candace and I, when we came down, Candace is in the audience. She's a founding member of the Amelia Island Whale Ambassadors, so we have a lot of this to thank with her. Maybe someday there'll be a whale named after Candace. But we took the ferry. And we passed all those great fish places here. Eat local. We're not going to have the shipping. We're not going to have the ropes. Let's support our local fishermen and eat local stuff. You can tell the representatives, John Rutherford, Rick Scott, Active Moody, yes. On Marine Mammal Protection Act, yes. Keep the Endangered Species Act, yes. On vessel speed rule. And Candace has some information. We have enough to pass out. We just pass it out.
I do.
Okay, so start. Just
Yeah,
pass
we
it out.
pass it out now?
Yeah. And we have some suggested script. You can phone them, you can call them, or you call them, you can email them, you can send them letters. And we want to say no to HR 8509 causing protections until 2035. It's a representative from Maine who is positioning this. So this is really something we can do. Why do I say this is important? Well, we're a grassroots organization. And like I said, we have a lot of fun, fest with the parade and all that stuff. But the real work is, we want to save our North Atlantic right whales before they go extinct. And I'm a big believer in living our vision statement. Interesting statistic here, 0, and I mean no, marine mammal species has gone extinct in U.S. waters since the Marine Mammal Protection Act was passed 55 years ago. 0. This is working. We need to keep it going. 24 years ago, I was on Amelia Island. I was still living in Ohio. My parents had a condo on Amelia Island. I was down for a little early spring break. And I saw this commotion in the water. There was dolphins swimming round and round and round and round. And I asked the Florida Fish and Wildlife person, what's going on? And he said, oh, the dolphins are swimming around a whale who's having a calf, and they're doing that to keep the sharks away. Blood in the water stuff. Think about that. Mammal helping mammal. There's so much interconnectedness that we don't even know. And I fell in love with the North Atlantic right whale at that time. We moved to Amelia Island 6 years ago, and I became involved with the Amelia Island Whale Ambassadors, kind of really heavily in the last 2 years. And as you can see, this is our calendar for the year of the fun things we do. There's something almost every month. In fact, today, we're missing the Wild Review of Nature Festival and opening of the beaches. I think we can catch it when we go back. But this big festival, it's a lot of fun. August 24th, the day before you have your movie, we're having the documentary as well up here. Support it here, see it here versus there. If you want to see it both places, even better. Has anybody ever come up to Right Whale Week on Amelia Island? Okay, 65 businesses have special deals on, food and drink and the right whale dessert. You know what? That's the one week I don't care if I'm going to have the right whale dessert. I don't care if I have to wear a bathing suit publicly. I'm going to have that dessert. Then, anybody been up to Right Whale Festival? November 7th this year and 8th. It is on Main Beach. Last year we had 15,000 people there. But we had some competition that year. The Florida-Georgia game was playing. So this year, the Florida-Georgia game is not playing that day, so we're expecting 20,000 people to come. And then if you want to become a Right Whale ambassador, and you can get a cool t-shirt like Candace has on, or a cool shirt like what I have on, come to our training on November 9th. We would welcome you to be there. Here's some of the fun things we do. Shrimp Festival Parade. This is a full-size right whale calf, I believe, we walk with. We celebrate what we see in the right whales. We learn how to draw them at a little bar called Inkwell. We have a baby shower. We do things at the farmer's market to educate people. We have opening of the museum. Yes, that's my husband and myself. There's the Right Whale Festival with music and plays and stuff. We educate children at schools. We just walk the beaches. We look for them. And we have a lot of fun. So we do fundamentally a couple things. We look for the whales. We spot them. We present to groups like we're doing today, just to increase that awareness for people so more people know what's going on. This is going to be a tongue twister. Let's see if I can say it. We collaborate with 30 organizations. We are the founding members of the Southeast North Atlantic Right Whale Collaboratory, and that's Candace's thing. Try to say that a few times. That's hard. We educate boaters at marinas, and we protect the protections that are in place for them right now. The Endangered Species Act, the Marine Mammal Protection Act, the Vessel Speed Rule, and now hold off 8509. We do serious work, Amelia Island Whale Ambassadors. We have serious fun. We'd love for you to join us for that serious fun and serious work. The key is we're making a difference. That's key. And why? Because extinction is forever. That's why we do this. But there's reason for hope. The southern right whale off the coast of Patagonia in 1999 had 500 southern right whales. This year there are 2,100. So I'm saying this to every time I make a presentation or every time I talk. I will tell you I am 67 years old. And my mom died at 91. My father passed away last year at 94. So there's some longevity there. And I said to my husband, here's my goal. 25 years, I guess me to 92. I want 2,000 North Atlantic right whales in the ocean. And that's going to be my life's purpose. us to get there. We can do this, we can do it. They did it down the southern hemisphere. They do it with protections, they do it with watching things for fishing. They haven't done this. So hopefully today you saw a lot of joy with all the babies that we had. Unfortunately, we saw some heartbreak as well. We see some fear that we're worried about losing their protections. We saw some caring. And I leave you with hope, because we did have 23 this year. We did have some first-time moms, younger, the interval's gotten shorter. We have reason for hope. So I encourage you to join us, or even better, if anybody wants to start a Jacksonville Beach a whale ambassadors group, we will give you every bit of information we have, and we'll show you how we did it. Most important, help us by being a voice for us with your representatives by yes to the Endangered Species Act, yes to the Marine Mammal Protection Act, yes to the Vessel Speed Rule, and no to House Bill 8509 rather. And then, what's that number if you see a whale? That's right, thank you, 8897 whale. That's all I have today. If anybody has anything else that they want to ask, we'd be happy to answer questions. You guys have been great, so thank you for being here.
What's the mortality rate on cats?
Mortality rate on cats. Well, I'm going to look to Candace a little bit on that one. Last year, I know we lost, I took the slide out. Hang on, actually, I have a slide on it. Last year, we lost at least, you grab a slide. Candace, you know that off the top of your head? I don't.
I don't. I think we lost 5 of our calves out of, there it is, you just had it.
Yeah. So 2024 cattle season, we had 2015 survive. So that was a typical year. We had 2015. I don't know if any of that have passed this year. Do you know if any of that have passed this year?
No,
They're all 23 are there.
yeah.
So,
So 5 that died back there.
Yeah, so most of them are vessel strikes and for the calves and then some towns. Other questions?
One little comment. Jacksonville Beach, Neptune Beach, Ponte Vedra, the whales are here too.
Yes.
We need your eyes out there. There are just as many whales off of the beaches here as there are on Amelia Island. It gets less as you go farther south. But you're right in the calving grounds.
Yeah, they're having the babies here too. Brad saw a couple other questions. Yes.
Do they know the percentage of males to females?
Candace, I'm going to look to you on that one again. I know we have 70 reproductive females out of the 400, but I don't know the percentage.
And there are more
I think
males.
it's, yeah, there's more males, I think it's like 55, 45, it's not a huge skew, but there's just not a large number of reproductive females.
So the females can be choosy then.
Yeah.
Yes.
So at what age does the female become childbearing? And if you had 71 females that could produce a calf, will every one of them produce a calf that year, or do you have a mathematical formula, the maximum that could be produced?
So we know that there are intervals, and we've seen it going from 7 to 10 years between having a calf. We know now that this year, half of them went 5 years in intervals. We know it can be as short as 3. The comeback moms were, this year there were 3 that just did 2 years. So it's, you kind of factor that a little bit into it. I forgot the beginning part of your question.
What year, how old do the females have to be before they start bearing?
So 10 years we saw with catalog this year. I don't know if they have any younger than 10. Kim, do you know that answer? I don't know that answer.
I thought average reproductive age was 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was early.
That's average. yeah.
But the issue is, I think now there's data based on bones that without vessel strikes and ropes, other large-bodied whales can live up to 100 years, but a North Atlantic right whale average, this is males and females, average lifespan is currently 22 years.
Oh, so barely in there.
Yeah, so 10 is the youngest that I know of for beginning. Was there another part to your question that I stopped
How many do you think maximum could be bearing if everybody did those?
Very good.
If every female was able to bear
Well-
one, but did bear one?
So we think of catalog having it 10, and then Ghost was 50, and that was her 9th. And that 9, 10 maybe? They were healthy? Yes.
I remember reading about some listening devices on the Jacksonville Beach Pier. Is that pre-hurricane or post-hurricane or ongoing, or do you know anything about it?
I do not know anything about it, but I do know there's emerging technology in acoustics. So somebody might be doing some acoustical work with that. So listen, there's somebody on Amelia Island who does the nature work at the Ritz Hotel. He's a naturalist, and he is trying to learn whale speak, and he does a lot of acoustical work. So maybe if the whales were here, it may have been Nick coming down here and doing that.
I'm from New Jersey, and I taught there, and Cape May County area,
Yeah.
and, so we adopted whales. And it was funny because the person that we used, which I don't recall because this is what I remember now, but, when you called him, you heard all these whale noises because that's what he was doing, was working on communication with them.
Yeah, so they definitely have a language. Has anybody ever heard of Paul Winter and his consort? What do you remember? Do you know about his whale?
No, I don't know.
So he has an album, and this is what, when I first heard whale sounds, boy, I was probably 30, so that was, 37 years ago. There's an album about Paul Winter's consort it's called Whales Alive, is the album. And it's somebody did tell me that they were not necessarily right whales, but nonetheless, it's still beautiful music. I love your idea about adopting a whale.
How are the ocean windmills affecting these whales and other whales?
So an interesting question that actually Scott, who's our scientific person on our board, answered, and I'm going to repeat his answer. They don't affect them. They are not affected by it. However, I'm going to sound a little political here. Am I right on that? That this way further the windmills don't affect them? I thought that's what Scott said. Stop me if I'm wrong on that. But I will say that President Trump is using that the whales are affected by it as his excuse not to get windmills. So if he's doing something that might help the whales as an excuse, I mean, although there's no evidence that the windmills affect them. Yes.
Just on the topic of developing acoustics and the subject of noise in the ocean, we worked with, and in fact went to Washington DC, met with members of Congress on various committees working on these bills, as well as our local congressional representatives, with Johnny Miller, who is a former mayor of Fernandina Beach, who's a retired Navy sonar expert. And one of the biggest impacts that we had when we met with these members of Congress was Johnny telling them about the noise in the ocean, and from shipping and construction and seismic air gun blasting from oil and gas, exploration. And it was extremely impactful and really made a difference in the way these elected officials looked at what needs to be done.
It was negative impact.
Yes, very,
it was negative.
extremely, not just on whales, but on other, on
Dolphin and cetaceans.
other marine mammals and crustaceans, the entire food chain, really. So this topic of noise in the ocean, and the potential construction of windmills might be one thing, the ongoing operation of the windmills, a completely different topic. But just the handout that Candace gave out with our representatives' contact information on them, a lot of us think, especially nowadays, we're so blasted with all these things we're upset about that it doesn't make a difference. But as I said, part of our work is to meet with elected officials, and it makes a difference when their constituents are calling them and telling them, here's why I care about this, and here's what I would like you to do to help protect North Atlantic white whales. So it's not fun to make these calls, but it's quick. Someone will pick up the phone or leave a voicemail, and it is critical.
And like I said, we need them. Every other breath we take is to go fight a plankton that's eaten well poop. Other questions? Yes.
Do we know, in regards to right whale migration, if and how those migration patterns change over time, or have they changed over time?
They have changed over time. I'm not the expert on that. I know in Canada where they feed, they have migrated further north, and so to cooler waters, so because that's where their food supply is. So who knows, we may actually see that shift, that they may calve a little further north as our waters get warmer and warmer. So the warming of the ocean is definitely causing them to shift their migration, yes. Yeah, that's an issue to think about. Any other questions?
In the tracking that's been done of the whales coming down from Amelia Island, and then they have to go through the St. John's, there's so much that's increased coming out of the St. John's with all of the petri nourishment and on. Has the tracking or the migration gone further out? Have you compared maps one year after the other to gone further out? Sure, it'll come back down by our beaches, and they'll go down by Flagler for sure, and be as close as they are, and come in as close as they are. But has that been noticed?
Go back, and if you want to address that, Candace, then I'm going to go back to the slide with the whale.
It's my understanding when looking at these migration patterns, because I know this inlet, and I know how incredibly busy it is. Same thing up at Fernandina in St. Mary's Inlet, because you've got nuclear subs swimming in and out of there all the time. The whales, that's their path, that's where they go. So they do stay generally within a mile of the coast. And there are places where they come in a little bit closer. And of course, this whole bight of Georgia, I think it's called, is conducive for them to stay in there. And you may have read this year Flagler Beach had lots of sightings. For some reason, they all came really close to Flagler Beach.
And last year too.
Yeah.
They were real close last year.
Yes, you can see here that they're within that, they're a lot of the, for that, we can't see that from the beach. That's why the high rises can help us a little bit. But as for that one picture, we all saw the one whale, and then I said three, the room actually. Any other questions? Well, thank you all so much. Again, so excited to see the interest in the North Atlantic right whale, and thank you for being here. And what's the number again, Nicole? 8897 whale. Thank you again, and we hope to see you up at the right whale.
And verify it. Sure. It's gone through so many things. Thank you all for doing it. This has been a grand audience. Yeah.
I know, that's a valid point, yeah.
Wonderful question.
We come down here for a reason, and they end up there.
Wouldn't that be grand?
So what I was really, and I'm gonna be just my old teacher voice, what I was really excited to hear was, it wasn't just Halloween as a solution. And seeing you guys here, and you brought in, motorbikes, taking down, how you got here. That solution was awesome, because you guys could go on.
Yes, definitely there are as many in this direction, which is really,
And you're gonna have to go to your college, and then master's,
by
and then
Georgia, it's about 120 miles, that where most of the towns are born.
so when she turns to what?
They're born
And she's
at
eating
night
or
or
you say,
oh, 2 or 3 or 4
somewhere in the
miles.
future. That's exactly right.
Right.
You may not have thought it now.
That's exactly right. Also,
And look at your schools and
and
it paid attention.
It's not a really long process, so yes, the rain, the noise, and the dredging, and that kind of stuff is short. And a long way. And not all of these, whales don't
They
migrate
technically
themselves like,
but
females do.
definitely
So there will be populations of whales that, of males that stay.
Yeah.
So that was one kind of.
Exactly. So, I,
a little farther north.
I anticipate that will change in the administration that,
Keep an eye on
the clean energy.
And also,
You know,
I think we're getting
ramp
that
that
chatter
up.
now.
We're gonna anyway. Yeah, sadly, we're gonna need,
Not exact locations.
If they had, we might
We
have.
don't attract the voters to the whales, but we want the shore
I
side.
think next year we'll go.
If you see something on Whale or Cumberland Island, you know, sometimes, or Amelia,
Yes.
we're coming.
And my daughter works at the Wind
Well, so
Energy
that was
industry,
a.
so, yeah.
Well,
And, you know,
Yeah, and you are so.
I know, like I said, it's, there's so much going on. I can't live about 12 things a day, you know, that I want to think that I get, I've got.
Have you ever had any contact with the Georgia Conservancy?
Oh, yes. Yes, they're part of it.
Very involved.
Yes.
That's why.
We do a lot of work, there's a lot of work on Cumberland.
Yeah. And, she mentioned the collaboratory, the Southeast Collaboratory. Catherine and I are both active in that, and Georgia Conservancy.
We are supposed to be on a boat,
I saw that.
doing a good job.
Like, if they wanted to do something, let's say, yeah, but, okay. How long has been, was Courtney Rich there?
Very well done. Nice to have met you.
Yes, really appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
Yes, yes. And the other thing that I still
Really appreciate the opportunity to see you here at the Beaches
thought about, I've
Museum.
been in conservation my whole life.
Come back to see us. So why were you in Florida 4 times? Like 4 different degrees?
I studied wildlife, and I got a master's in environmental education, and I was a science teacher. And I decided I wanted to be a science teacher for the rest of my life. So I went and taught Baltimore City public school system, and that sobered me up on teaching pretty quickly.
So that's something that
And then I came back to run a lab, and at the College of Veterinary Medicine at University of Florida, I got the opportunity to do a PhD there. And because I was still working managing the lab, I could also get a master's in public health for free.
It's like, you know.
When it's free, it's hard to say no.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the state university system, through employee education programs, you work full-time at the university, you take 6 hours every semester. It's a huge deal. I don't think any other states that I'm knowledgeable about in the southeastern United States. So it's all wildlife adjacent, but it's just, just said, keep working, you know,
Well, you've had an interesting trajectory of your job. I'm glad some people like you carry it.
Yeah, I love doing this. I love being a voice for wildlife, getting out, talking to people. It's really wonderful. I consider myself a